Welcome to another priority Q&A session of the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hello, Ian. What's up? What's going on? Anything good?
We have lots of questions to answer. They're from our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members. I think that's pretty good. What about you?
I think that's pretty good, too. Yes, I agree. I think it's time we jump into the questions. We did waste no time getting right into it. Starting with this one here from Joe Star SSB. How mature do you see the Sonic series becoming in the near future? Obviously, the movie and such appeal to a younger audience. Perhaps this gives the comics, or even the games, a little more leg room to appeal to an older crowd. Thoughts?
I don't see it going any further than it already has.
No.
I don't think it needs to go any further than it already has.
Mm-hmm.
When folks say mature content, that to me, that raises a red flag. And I'm not laying this at your feet, Joe Star. I'm speaking generally that some folks seem to think that media can't be taken seriously unless it's got its blood, sex, and violence. And to me, that's immature. You don't need to drop F-bombs and have gore to be a mature piece of media. And frankly, I don't want Sonic to be that. I don't think it needs to really get into overt adult themes. Let it be what it has always been, which is quite clearly working. Here we are, 30 years later, and that's part of Sonic's charm, is it's accessible to everyone. It's engaging to everyone.
He makes money. He makes a lot of money. And, I mean, they could at least let Shadow have a gun again, no, right?
Maybe a Wispon.
It's not the same. Here's a question from Lemur Chicken. Following up on a previous question, with how much stuff Sonic and his friends have gotten from the canon spin-offs, Cars, Extreme Gear, how would characters like Tangle, Whisper, Rough and Tumble react to Sonic and the gang sitting on dozens of badass vehicles?
Well, Tangle wants to drive them all.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yeah. Yes.
Whisper doesn't really care, but if something could be viable for field use, she might be interested in learning how to ride an Extreme Gear or something. Rough and Tumble would be super jealous and they would try to steal them all at the same time.
It's a heist, and they would fail miserably at it.
They would tell Tangle that it's totally just them wanting to ride the stuff. Doesn't that all look fun? She's like, yeah, okay, you're right, but we're going to bring it right back, right, guys? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, totally. Mm-hmm. And then they try to steal it, and then she's chasing them down, and it turns into this whole wacky racers hijinks thing.
I like it. I'm into it. Now you've just pitched a comic story. Oh, well. All the good ideas are getting used up by the BumbleKast. Here's a question from Madeline Blue Star 7. Does Eggman have a lot of abandoned bases around the world, like the one that Sonic and Tails visited in the Chow Races and Badnik Bases arc? I was also wondering if it's something that Sonic sees often, since he said that he keeps tabs on things like that when he sees it.
I think it's kind of a mixed bag of abandoned bases and bases he just doesn't utilize often. Like he sets them up as he goes along, and then he's one man, so he can't occupy them all at the same time. And so some of them are automated, some of them are mothballed, some of them just get forgotten, but they're kind of just littered all over the place so that he always has somewhere to fall back to.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And here's a question from Master Sword 648. If the Triforce existed in the world of Sonic, who do you think would be the paragons of wisdom, courage, and power? Would Mimic be Azora? Would Silver actually be the one in Link's role, considering the plot of Ocarina? Is Whisper a Sheikah? I'm getting carried away. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I don't know. I think the triple threat kind of fits the bill right there. You got your wisdom for Tails, your power for Knuckles, and your courage for Sonic.
Yeah, but usually the power is held by the villain.
Well, I guess that's traditional, true, but you could also argue that Link embodies all three anyway. Well, he has the power to overcome all the monsters, he has the wisdom to solve all the puzzles, and he has the courage to face all that adversity.
I guess. I suppose.
It also would kind of speak poorly of Din if she always gave her power to the villain. Like, what the heck, Din? Maybe spread it out to everyone else. Maybe let's have a good guy get the Triforce once in a while.
No, that's no fun.
I just think it kind of trends towards Ganon/Ganondorf because he is just so freaking powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But I prefer to think of the Triforce as manifesting in those who embody those qualities. And as we play through the Zelda series, we just happen to see it manifesting in these reincarnations of these characters, or in Ganon's case, the tortured, never-ending existence of him. But that, at some point in the 1,000 years between installments, there is just some farmhand somewhere who has the Triforce of Courage because he is a courageous individual, and maybe he protects his pigs from the the wolf things, and that's it. He lives his life never becoming some gigantic hero or cutting down evil, but he's still the embodiment of it, and it passes on to someone else. But that's very much my own headcanon, I guess.
I don't know, man. I'm down for a Hyrule Warriors cross Sonic Muso game. Why not? Crossed over with everything else. Here's a question from Knight's Jubel. So, time for the real questions around here. Best ice cream flavor? I feel like we've done this before too, but oh well.
I don't know if it's the best, but I will always default to a good chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a comfort ice cream.
See, and I'm a vanilla guy.
Now, when we went to Whistler, British Columbia for our honeymoon, there was an ice cream shop that had this mint chocolate chip.
Mm-hmm.
And those chips were like the size of wood shavings. And that was just... that was good stuff. And they make it a Kit Kat ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it really tastes like Kit Kat so much as it has little Kit Kat bits in it, but that I've hurt my stomach more than once on that. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I like for traditional ice cream flavors. I definitely like a good chocolate chip cookie dough. That hits the spot right there. Outside of that, I'm not too picky. I love good caramel flavored anything when it comes to ice cream. So, yeah. Otherwise, vanilla is great because it's like super versatile. You can do pretty much anything with it. And I like a good root beer float every once in a while. It's just good stuff. And right now we got a question from Non-Dull. I remember you mentioning that the Soul Dimension is significantly less technologically advanced than Sonic's Dimension. If Marine built a jet ski here, doesn't that make her a genius?
Maybe. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but I seem to remember that the materials, the items that you farm, have special properties that kind of lend themselves to miraculous construction. But Marine is also younger than Tails and is still managing to construct these sea vessels by herself. They aren't in great condition, but show me another 6-year-old who can build, even a slightly functional jet ski. So 7, whatever. Kid, small child to build such a thing. So, yeah, I'd say she's probably like burgeoning genius level. Not as focused as Tails, but definitely with potential.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. And we got a question here from Noni. Hello, I have a heckin' curious. Have you played Kirby games recently? What are your opinions on Kirby lore up to this point?
Yeah, I played Kirby in the Forgotten City
Land,
all the way through to...
Anyway. Doesn't matter. I said land, not city.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's land. Yeah.
All the way through to the hard mode of the Coliseum, to the final boss, and it threw a curveball at me, and I was out of health at that point, and my hands were very, very tired. But it was good. It was a good Kirby game. Kirby, I kind of feel like it comes with the qualifier of they're all very polished, but there's usually just kind of more of a comfort food feeling to them. Especially recently, some of them just don't feel all that particularly engaging or challenging. It's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like Star Allies The core game, not much to write home about. What was really great about it was the DLC and all the characters you could play as. And yeah, you pretty much played the same thing over and over and over again, but the love letter to the franchise and the crazy cast of characters, for me, made up for it.
Yeah.
But Forgotten Land, I feel like, is especially focused and polished and well put together. It's challenging without being, completely impossible, and it's very, very pretty. When Kirby 64 came out again, it's like, oh, that's what 3D Kirby used to look like. Forgotten Land is what I remember 64 looking like.
Sorry, the N64's, graphically, that generation is, it's rough. It's real rough.
And it's funny because it started, Kirby's always had that little bit of, here's the fun adventure and then here's the nightmare fuel or the weird thing at the end.
Yeah, here's the weird thing.
It seems to be trending more and more to here's the lore dump at the end as well. And this was like a brick to the face with Forgotten Land, to be honest. It's like, all right, this is just a really nice, straightforward Kirby story and plot. Why is there voice acting? What in the world? What are we doing here? I have to read things? But it was cute and it was fun. And, there was that inevitable moment of, yes, here's the disturbing element. Right on time, right on cue.
Well, here we are.
But it was different enough that it was the comfortable formula while doing something different enough that it wasn't just the same old.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed it. I haven't 100%ed it. I don't know if I will, but it would be something that I would go back and play again.
Online reactions to Kirby lore are very funny because, of course, it has a very, kid-friendly look to it. Everything's real nice and cartoony and pleasant, and then the lore hits, and it's like, what? What? What's going on? Oh God! Oh man, it's a great thing about Kirby. I love it. It's been so long since I've played a good Kirby game, though, man. I mean, it's I'd loved Superstar and Kirby's Adventure on the NES, but I gotta get into the later ones. I need to do that. At least some of the later ones.
I would say skip ahead to Forgotten Land.
Yeah,
because as much as I enjoyed like Planet Roboto and elements of Star Alliance,
Planet Roboto.
Roboto, whatever.
It's Robobot.
Robobot, whatever. There's O's and B's in there.
Domo arigato Kirby Roboto.
A lot of the more recent Kirby games have been, here's the gimmick for the game, and here's the one puzzle where you do it, press the button, which has had varying degrees of satisfaction. Triple Deluxe, it was boring. It was a cinematic button press. It was not satisfying. Star Allies was cute, but a lot of it felt like here's just the sequence that you kind of coast through. With Forgotten Land, there are elements here and there of it, but it feels more like gameplay. It feels like you're actually doing something with these gimmicks. There are puzzles to be solved. There are utilizations to be had, and it isn't, and all except one instance, it feels like you're still playing the game rather than you're just coasting through the gimmick. So I would recommend Forgotten Land.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Canvas Curse, but not had the chance to play it. I
didn't have the dexterity to finish that one.
It looked interesting, but I don't know. I just haven't had the chance, of course. All right, here's a question from Pendolce. In the last live stream, someone asked if Starline had white arms, which got a doubtful response confirming it. Now, in Bad Guys number 3, he was shown sleeping in a t-shirt with his arms uncovered, which were purple like his hands. But in Bad Guys number 1, his arms were shown as white too, which brings me to ask, what would be the definitive color for his arms? Purple, white, or maybe purple to his elbows with the rest being white?
I don't know, but good on you for doing the research. I guess that's something that we need to review on IDW's end and settle on.
The coloring is, I guess, inconsistent. I guess it happens sometimes, Different characters do different things. Or not characters, different.
It's not part of his model sheet. It's not part of his regular look.
So right, yeah. He doesn't normally have bare arms.
They're platypus arms.
That's true. It's a good point. Here's a question from Pedanticat. So, Ian, if you were to create a fan kid for Sonic ships such as Son Amy, Knuckles Rouge, Tails Mo, Knuckles X Relic, Mighty X Honey, and Wispangle, what do you imagine them to be like? And are there any Sonic ships you'd be interested in creating a fan kid for?
See, there is fun to be had in concocting the future children. I'm not going to deny that. But given my position and given the fandom, I am disinclined to go that route because I don't want to deal with the accusations of favoritism and whatnot.
Well, you already do anyway, so what the heck? Lean into it.
Just try to stem the tide ever so slightly.
We all know that your favorite is Sally or Amy or... I don't know, Starline. I don't know.
But the other thing is when you've got mixed species, like Sonic and Amy's easy enough. It's a hedgehog of some kind.
Sure.
Maybe mix the colors. Maybe the hammer is a heirloom that gets passed down. That's not too hard. When you get the mixed species thing, it becomes a question of, do they hybridize? We don't really see hybrids in the Sonic series, Fang aside. And, do they mix traits? Do they pick a species? How is that defined? And I don't know. I get hung up on those questions before I get into just the fun of, here's the combo kid. In short, I overthink your question before I even answer it.
Oh, well, it happens. And we got a question here from Quaggle Gaggle. You've mentioned not being a fan of Dark Sonic from Sonic X, but does that include Super Sonic from Sonic the Comic? How about you, Kyle? I know that's apples to oranges, but I won't lie, it honestly feels like an inspired take personally, and I'm curious how you both feel about such a staple being so, categorically evil. I know our experience is limited, but still, would love to hear your take on it.
Okay, so this is night and day.
Oh, yeah.
What I know of Sonic the Comic Super Sonic is... he is a character. He's a reoccurring element. He is explored as an individual. And I want to say it was Nigel Kitching. I could be very wrong. Please correct me in the comments. But the first person to write Evil Super Sonic got it from their interpretation of playing the game, where when they went Super, they found it too hard to control. That Sonic became just this wild, unwieldy, destructive force.
Mm-hmm.
And that experience colored how they interpreted the character, which I find fascinating. That's really cool to me. And what they did with him and where they took him afterwards, although I'm not, super well versed in it, they did explore the character and do things with it. And he became this kind of, Mr. Jekyll. No, Mr. Hyde. Come on, man. One of those kind of Mr. Hyde elements. And didn't they separate at some point so that there was Sonic and Super Sonic as individual entities?
I think so. I think I've heard that.
So the point being, Dark Sonic was a handful of seconds on a slightly darker Sonic, some commentary from Eggman, and nothing else. No power set, no exploration of the character, no utilization of the concept. It was a blink and you miss it missive. Evil Super Sonic out of Sonic the Comic was an exploration. It was a utilization. It was something interesting and explored, and they did things with it. And that's neat. It's not canon to go to true Super Sonic, but for what it is in the microcosm of Sonic the Comic, it's really neat. And I dig that they did something so different with it.
Yeah. I think what surprised me is that they were almost kind of like teasing and sort of leaning into that characterization in the movie before they pulled back.
You think?
Well, I mean, Knuckles is like, he's not the Sonic you know anymore. He's, Like, I don't know what they were. It seemed like they were kind of hinting at maybe he was going to be like, some uber evil like monster or something because of the way the Echidna tribe got destroyed. They got power hungry, went power crazy.
I took it as a setup for the joke, but
I mean, it is a setup for the joke, but it also is kind of I feel like it was kind of like maybe a little bit of a nod at least to that history,
Maybe.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a tad. Here's a question from Radri. Given that we live in the metacontextual era of entertainment, where you have tons of IPs self-referencing themselves, Marvel with Spider-Man No Way Home, with, spoiler alert, 3 different iterations of Spider-Man in one movie, that new Chip and Dale movie referencing not only its own IP, but all this old and some new IP as a story. There's also Space Jam, a new Legacy, which was basically one giant commercial advertising every IP Warner Brothers owns. And it brings me to this question. How meta is too meta? How does one write a satisfying meta story that doesn't come off as self-indulgent or bad writing?
Let's go with what I know and look at the Sonic and Mega Man crossovers.
Yeah.
Worlds Collide was a good version of this.
Yeah.
The story revolved around the properties themselves. It moved the characters from point A to point B. The references to the material within the context of the franchises was part of the story. It was part of the trials that they encountered, and any kind of wink nudge jokes were there and they moved on. We didn't dwell on anything. It was a celebration of the franchises, but it told a story that utilized those elements. A bad example is Worlds Unite, where the story itself was kind of slave to showcasing all the properties.
Right.
It was a big showcase of stuff that didn't necessarily do anything for the story. All the characters that showed up weren't necessarily given their due. A lot of the winks and nods were very superficial, and the characters themselves didn't necessarily drive the story. They were there for the story, but they didn't really move the narrative themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They were participants in the spectacle. And there's fun to be had in that spectacle, to be sure, but it's not nearly as satisfying as a solid narrative core.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think that's where the distinction lies, is when you do these kinds of fun referentials to all that's come before, you need to have that story and purpose in mind, and everything else is window dressing. If it becomes just the spectacle, then you might as well just set up an image gallery.
Yeah, make some t-shirts with crossover art on them.
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, I don't know. I find it kind of funny that you throw in like little references to various Sonic song lyrics sometimes, but apparently other people like really hate that, and they hate you for doing it. I'm like, what? All right, calm down. I think you need to relax.
Fair. Some of them work better than others.
I mean, you do kind of shove some of them in there.
Into that round hole.
Yes, you do that sometimes. But you know what? Dang it, I appreciate the enthusiasm.
And also, let me say that Worlds Unite wasn't without its merits.
Oh no,
but it was not as tightly constructed as Worlds Collide.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But there's just so many like cool character moments, at least in there. Some heartwarming moments and things like that I liked. But I think definitely overall, as a story, the Worlds Collide is like freaking lightning in a bottle, man. I still don't know how you did that. you and everyone else involved with that. That's like such a good story. And we got a question here from Professor Rye to close us out before we take a break. If you were a patron of your own podcast, what question would you ask yourself? Why?
I feel like I'm looking into the void and trying not to blink.
Yeah.
I mean, I question myself every day. I don't know why I need to spend money to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. Why am I a patron of my own podcast? That's weird. Why are you a patron of your own podcast? Yeah, there you go. That's the question
I
to
don't know.
ask yourself. That's a good
Maybe
one.
I'd ask myself, isn't this silly? And just riff talking to myself for 30 minutes.
Sure.
That's what you came here for, right, folks? That's the quality content you
So
want
that's, I was going to say, this sounds like it's the BumbleKast, just without me. That's fine. Well, why Sonic Man? It's true. It's true. Anyway, that's going to be our time to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more BumbleKasty goodness on the BumbleKast. We're back, and we have a question here from Ryokoshion. Is Ultrasonic really superior to Supersonic? Ultra needs many rings, but according to the encyclopedia, to reach the super state, hundreds or even thousands might not be enough, and it is not known exactly because nobody's ever reached it. Also, with 7 super emeralds, Sonic got super, but with only 1, he got super for a short time, and then he stayed as Ultrasonic most of the time, implying that it was not enough energy to maintain a super state.
I am very confused.
I don't know. All I'm thinking is Ultra, but you know, that's Killer Instinct. That's different.
Like, it's been a while since I got into the old Archie Sonic lore, but I thought I remembered Ultrasonic was the transformation from a bunch of rings, and Supersonic was a transformation with 7 Chaos Emeralds, although that was kind of fuzzy. And
I don't even remember.
I was gonna say I didn't remember him turning super off the super emeralds, but I guess that's what happened because there weren't any regular Chaos Emeralds in. No, wait, because there were Chaos Emeralds in the adventure adaptation because it was like Station Square ran on a Chaos Emerald grid, I thought, and he tapped into that. It's been a while. And then there was the whole green super emerald multi-transformation elemental thing, but let's just not even go there. But from what I remember, and this is with a huge asterisk because I don't remember, it's been too long, but Ultrasonic had like crazy elemental powers and could open rifts in dimensional space, whereas Supersonic's just fast and invulnerable. So I would be inclined to say Ultra is technically more powerful because he can do different stuff, but that's up for debate, especially amongst those of you who have kept up to date with the old defunct lore.
I'm totally lost. I mean, and I read this stuff, but I cannot remember. I can't remember a damn thing about it for the life of me. I'm like, maybe if you said Ultrasonic, I would be like, oh yeah, that was a thing, and then I'd be like, I guess, what was it exactly though? I don't remember. Like, I'm just like, what the? Oh man, it's weird. It's very weird, and I'm confused and scared, Ian. What do I do?
That's okay. We have more questions to wade into to comfort your soul.
Okay, good. Thank you. I need these questions. They are my lifeblood at this point. Here's one from Sam Cybercat. How cool was it to first see that map of the classic game locations in Origins? It's something that I've loved to have had as a kid, and it's great to get to see it all these years later.
Yeah, it's neat to see them in that incarnation. I wouldn't put too much stock into their placement in the ocean.
I'm figuring that they are probably in reality much further apart.
Yeah, but seeing them as like full islands is neat. The fact that Mount Mobius is included
was surprising.
Very surprising, and it gives me hope because Mount Mobius comes with certain connotations that I will do my damnedest to capitalize on.
Wouldn't
maybe
happen.
Not this year, maybe not the next year, but It's established now.
It wouldn't happen to rhyme with Schmiedem Schmeiders, would it?
It absolutely would.
I
make no promises, but to me, this is a beacon of hope.
My favorite Schmiedem Schmeiders. Must have them. Let's do it. Let's have it happen. Also, yeah, sequel to Sonic Spinball, please. Sure, why not? Throw that out there. Don't change the Options music, though. Same tune. And here's one from Scruffymet. I was listening to an episode of the Archie Sonic Digest podcast today, and they were discussing the end of the Hedgehog Havoc arc. There's a scene where Miles talks about restoring Alicia to the Moabian throne, but she says that while she may be the figurehead of the Suppression Squad, they both knew who the leader is. I always assumed this meant that Alicia wanted Miles to lead, especially from his smug little smirk. But the guys on the podcast debated on whether it was actually Miles or if Alicia was referring to some other unknown character to serve as a cliffhanger for the next time we see the Suppression Squad. I know this kind of goes into Lost Hedgehog Tales territory, so I understand if you can't answer it, but I was wondering if there was anything to that theory.
The intention was that it was implying that Miles was the mastermind to the Suppression Squad the whole time. And that Alicia, while she was the figurehead, the upfront commander, she knew full well that the evil little genius was the one really pulling the strings. But this kind of falls under the fan interpretation umbrella, where had things gone on, and if there was fan feedback of, oh, well, I wonder who this mystery leader is, we could have potentially switched gears and gone in a different direction.
Right.
But the word of God intention was, yes, we're implying that Miles is the mastermind and he would be the next major threat.
Could have been interesting. Shame it got cut off.
Yeah, well.
And we have a question from Scurvy Pirate Hog. The Black Arms and Black Doom have shown to be quite the warriors when they invaded during the events of Shadow the Hedgehog. But there's something I'm curious about. How would Black Doom and the Black Arms do if they were to go up against Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, and the rest of the Galactic Empire? Black Arms versus Darkseid.
The Black Arms are toast.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, you have the Black Comet, which has no offensive capabilities and is maybe the size of a small city, up against any Star Destroyer. The turbo lasers are going to tear that thing to Swiss cheese. It's no contest. Single Star Destroyer is going to wipe out the Black Arms by itself.
Yeah, but you get a competition of who can chew the most scenery between Black Doom and Palpatine. So that'll be fun.
That would be fun. I will grant you that. But, Vader could fly through on his personal TIE Advanced and single-handedly clear out that rock.
Oh, yeah.
There would be giblets everywhere. Maybe Black Doom would give him a decent fight because he's got that kind of innate chaos control thing going on. But one solid choke slam into the wall via the Force, and he's going to be a lightsaber kebab. It's a curb stomp. It is not even a competition. I'm sorry.
Lots of liquidy black licorice everywhere. Ooh. Yeah, Darkseid wins. Not even a contest.
Just imagine Palpatine walking down the interior, just like a living bug zapper, cackling as he takes them all out.
Yeah, he would do that. All right, let's get into this next question here from Sonic. Are the robots with free will, like Omega, Gamma, Orbot, and Cubot, programmed with free will and emotions, or do they somehow develop it without being programmed for it?
It depends on the robot. Like Emerald, Gemerald, they developed it over time. Omega, hard to say because we don't really see when he turns, but it seems to be a conscious decision on his part.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was built with more autonomy to be a more effective robot, and then when he was mothballed. He decided, nope. Orbot and Cubot were clearly programmed with it, and I guess that's just so Eggman has someone to bounce off of more than just a silent robot. Gamma was the bird within exerting its will, and I will hear no argument to the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was done through the filter of the programming's perception, to be sure, but Gamma didn't go haywire until confronted with Birdie, and that was the familial bond. So,
right.
That was a special case.
Yeah. Makes sense. Here's a question from Speedweed. I've noticed there were quite a few similarities between Susie Deltarune of the Deltarune franchise and Surge the Tenrec. Both seem to share a bit of personality between one another. Is that just me?
Maybe on a superficial level, but Susie deep down is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe deep down, but she's a good person when you get down to it. Surge is not. Surge is just bad.
Oh, she's bad, all right. Oh, she bad.
And we'll get more into that with Sonic 50.
She's bad to the bone. She's going to say a swear in 50, right? Is that where we're going? I'm ready. She's going to say... Here's a question from Steph Cube. Since Sonic Prime is just around the corner, I would like to know, what are your favorite series created by Man of Action and why? Mine are Generator Rex and Ben 10 Omniverse before Ben became immature again in Season 3. In your opinion, do you think they can make a decent Sonic?
You know, I've never actually seen a Man of Action show.
Me neither.
I tried a little bit of the Mega Man cartoon, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's not a knock against the show. You know, they were doing something very different. It's just, it wasn't for me, and that's fine. You know, it wasn't built for me. It was built for a new audience.
Mm-hmm. Wait, hold on. Okay, I have seen Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Okay.
I looked that up. I looked up what they did, what they've done, and okay, that's on the list. That's the only thing I've seen by them. And that was a pretty entertaining show. I liked it. So, yeah. All right. I just didn't realize that was Man of Action. So, that's the only thing I've seen from them, so I don't really have a good thing to grab from there in terms of variety. So, I think they could make a decent Sonic, though, sure. Based on a show from 12 years ago. All right, and we got a question here from Tempo. Which version of the Sky Sanctuary and Azure Lake songs from Sonic 3 do you prefer? The original Genesis versions or the Sonic Mega Collection versions? I'm personally a sucker for the Mega Collection ones myself.
Aren't they the same tune?
Yes, they are. I had to look this up because I was not aware entirely. I knew there was some weirdness with the Mega Collection, but I didn't know how far it went. The sound emulation in the Mega Collection it's not like the little at-games mini consoles bad, but it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough, I'd be honest with you. They don't sound good, honestly. I mean, if I guess maybe if it was like the first Sonic game you played, maybe that's your preference, the way it sounds, but the main lead melodies sound very wrong. Yeah, they're not quite right, and the weird way that the some of the sound channels get cut out by sound effects. No. Sorry, if that's what you grew up with and that's the versions you liked, that's okay, that's fine, but I mean, that's not intended to sound that way. It's not the way they were meant to sound. So, and having grown up with the original songs myself from the original games, from the Genesis versions, they just sound wrong to me. Like, completely wrong.
I'll have to go with the originals. It's been a long time since I played Mega Collection, but if it was a matter of rearrangement,
yeah,
or, different sound fronts, that's one thing. If it's entire channels are dropping out in favor of sound effects, then no, that's a bug.
Yeah, that's just poor emulation, honestly, and that's that's one of the things that Genesis emulation has been struck with for most of its existence is decent sound emulation. It's only been within maybe the last 5-10 years or so that the sound emulation abilities of Genesis emulators and stuff has actually gotten to a point where it's at least on par with most versions of the Sega Genesis, but it's still not quite 1-to-1. It's because of the way the FM synth works to Sega Genesis, it's almost impossible to exactly recreate it. So you can get damn close, especially nowadays, but it's not 100% perfect.
Interesting.
So, and that Mega Collection was a pretty early example. So, of using emulation like that, and it just doesn't sound right. Oh well, I just think it's kind of funny. Like, I got this question and I'm like, wait, are you talking about, like, do you mean like Ice Cap and Launch Base? Did you say the wrong zone names? Then they said Sonic Mega Collection, and I'm like, that's not the PC version. It's not the PC version of Sonic and Knuckles. Okay. So I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh. It's a bit rough. Here's a question from X. Does the Sonic Cast eat sushi? If so, do they have a favorite roll?
I imagine most of them do, big especially, but I do not myself, so I don't really know sushi rolls.
I don't know either. I have no clue. I don't eat sushi. But my favorite roll is a roll from Mega Man. So there you go. Yeah, we're terrible people. We know. It's fine.
I've tried it in the past. Just something about the cold rice does not... I can't do it. I'm just not a super huge fan of what I've had, which is not much, admittedly. All right, here we go with one from The Cartoonist. Do you guys have any favorite comedies? What would either of you recommend to the audience outside of Monty Python and the Holy Grail? I can imagine Kyle enjoying A Mighty Wind, the film, not the other kind of mighty wind. Joke's on you, Mr. Cartoonist. I would very much enjoy the other kind of mighty wind. I am nothing if not a connoisseur of fart jokes. Also, I've never heard of A Mighty Wind, but if you think I might like it, maybe I'll check it out. What do you think, Ian? Small list, because I don't feel like I gravitate towards comedies too much, which... seems odd to me, but
I mean, I kind of get that too, actually, because it just seems like most dedicated comedies don't really appeal to me because I just don't think they're all that funny. Like
Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah,
that's just funny.
Oh, of course.
That is timeless. That is a feel-good, pop it in and laugh movie.
Absolutely.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I still quote Airplane.
Yeah, maybe some of the jokes in that don't hold up quite as well these days, but there's still some great ones in there.
Yeah, some of it's more the timing than necessarily subject matter.
Yeah.
Sam and Max, Freelance Police, just about any incarnation. My exposure to it was the Saturday morning cartoon more than anything, but that just very dry, sardonic wit. It tickles me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Venture Brothers?
I haven't. I know it's probably something I need to watch, but just have not.
I don't know if it really counts as like a comedy, but it is funny.
My list does not have just pure comedies all the way across either.
Yeah, there's one.
Honestly, I'm like, I'm fine with. I like comedy in other genres. Like, just comedy doesn't really seem to get me. So, doesn't work for me.
Would you count The Princess Bride as a comedy?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's an action adventure comedy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't immediately think of it as a comedy, but it's got a lot of humor to it. So
Right. I mean, on my list, I got Thor Ragnarok.
I think that definitely counts.
I do too. That's definitely a comedy. It's also a lot of, action, adventure, and probably a few other things too. Definitely. As far as more pure comedies, I'm a fan of like 80s and some 90s comedy stuff. Like Clue.
Absolutely.
Is legendary. It's fantastic. Gotta have some Tim Curry. Coming to America is a very, very fun comedy. Both of those, the stalwarts of the old Comedy Central. Like, pretty much put those on repeat all day. The Bill and Ted movies, all of them, even the third one, great stuff. I like them very much. I'm a sucker for time travel shenanigans, so I'm into it. Thor Ragnarok, of course, as I already mentioned. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. That could have gone on my previous list for the obscure movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so stupid, but that's what makes it great. And in a similar vein, UHF, Weird Al. Just so many stupid sketches constantly.
It's a Weird Al movie.
Just lining them up in a row. It's like, yeah, this is fantastic. Why did this fail?
Well, it opened up against Jurassic Park, I think.
Yeah, well, you know what? maybe Jurassic Park. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe Jurassic Park wasn't worth it after all. Megamind is legendary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that movie is finally getting its due. Even if it's through memes. It is a wonderful, wonderful animated movie. I'd put Back to the Future on here as comedy movies. They're not pure comedy.
No.
But it's like an action adventure with a lot of comedy elements.
See, I'd put that more action adventure that happens to have funny. I don't know. I wouldn't think comedy first with it, although it does have very funny moments.
And I mean, like, look at just how like eccentric Doc Brown is all the time. He's just
he's also so freaking cool too.
Yeah, but he's he's a human cartoon character in the movie, man. Yeah, he's like a live action cartoon, pretty much. Like if a benevolent genius scientist were real.
Comment below to tell us if you agree with Kyle and I'm being too picky, or if it's more of an action adventure that just happens to have some great jokes in it.
Yeah,
let us know what you think.
Big Trouble in Little China might also be kind of in that bill, but it's just such a fun movie, and it's, Kurt Russell is so entertaining in it that I'm just like, you know what? No, forget you.
I would agree with you more on that one. I feel like that one's just so surreal, goofy that
yeah. I mean, I kind of also thought about putting They Live on the list in a similar vein, but I'm like, nah. I think Kurt Russell's a better actor than Roddy Piper. Sorry, Roddy. As much as I adored the fight scene between Roddy Piper and Keith David, it's I got to give the nod to Big Trouble in Little China. Talladega Nights, if we're going for more traditional comedy. Of course, I'm also a fan of auto racing, so that was like I don't know, just it's a very stupid movie yet again, but there's so many fun moments in it still. And as a fan of racing, it probably hits me a little bit better than most other people. So it was quite funny. And then, of course, Short Circuit. Would you call Short Circuit a comedy? I think it would. It
has its dramatic moments, but I think it's more comedy driven.
Yeah, I think so. And that's just a feel good movie, honestly. I mean, except for the parts where it's, sad. But it's good. I like Short Circuit. Still holds up. Well, that's it. That's pretty much all I got. Well, we got a question here, but it's for me.
It is and is. This one comes from John L. Shaking it up with a question for Kyle.
Whee!
Since you said in a previous Q&A that you play City of Heroes, I have to know. If Sonic showed up in Paragon City, what archetype would you make him? Scrapper, tanker, defender, something else? And what origin?
Okay, so this was actually a pretty fun little thought exercise. Thank you for this one, John. Because I never thought about this before. Sonic doesn't necessarily fit directly in with the archetypes of City of Heroes directly, but honestly, would you say, like, to me, Sonic seems more like a melee fighter. He doesn't really have any ranged things. I mean, he's got the homing attack, but that's flinging himself. It's not like it's not like it's a projectile.
Melee attack.
It's not like it's a projectile. He is the projectile. So I'd have to go with just a good old scrapper, you know? He's just one who likes to get up in the enemies' faces and just give him a good wallop, give him a good punch, you know? He's not a tanker, though. I don't know how much damage he could take compared to how much he dishes out. It definitely seems more like he can give more than he can take. So I'd have to go with
one hit and he drops all his rings.
Exactly, yeah. I'd have to go with Scrapper on that one. So he gets right up in people's faces, and he doesn't really seem to have like any if we're looking at modern and classic Sonic, he doesn't necessarily seem to have any powers outside of his speed. So I think he'd just be a street justice super reflexes scrapper. So he would have street justice is just like good old fisticuffs and kicks and punches and stuff like that. It's nothing fancy, just a lot of punchy. And then super reflexes, of course, because he dodges out of the way of everything because he's so fast. So I think that would fit the bill for modern and classic Sonic perfectly. As far as origin goes, science. Because, he ran on a treadmill with Dr. Kintobor, the scientist, and suddenly went from brown to green. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Sonic the Comic / Sonic Bible origin for him, I guess, on that one. So, science origin. Also, brown to green. Why did I say that? Brown to blue. Anyway. Anyway,
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to let it be.
Why didn't you do that? Anyway, I actually this also made me think of Movie Sonic. Movie Sonic would be a little different. He'd still be a scrapper, but I'd give him electric melee, you know, to tie in with the chaos energy that he's got. So still super reflexes and still a scrapper, but electric melee, you know, gets in there with that electricity action. And since he's an alien in that version, where he seems to have been born with his powers, I give him the natural origin because, you know, it was natural for him. So that's those are my thoughts on that one. Now I kind of want to get in there and see if I can make like at least the Sonic Man. And we got one last question here from Miggy Sawdust. Why do folks ask y'all multiple questions in their questions? Because we let them get away with it sometimes.
I guess that's the true answer.
Yeah.
I mean, some folks, I feel like they want to cover all the possible connotations or at least prompt us to think about every aspect of their question. Sometimes we miss.
Yeah. Generally, if there are like multiple questions in one and they are like completely unrelated, I'll separate them. Mm-hmm. But if they at least tie somewhat into each other, if they're like, you know, follow-up questions, preemptive follow-up questions or whatever, I tend to be a little more lenient on that. But
like if they complete the thought,
yeah,
it's less egregious than, you know, completely independent questions.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Some folks, I figured, don't actually realize what they're doing.
Well,
and
no.
Some are just very excited.
Well, I mean, of course not. Some just ask you on Twitter, and then you have to forward them on to the BumbleKast Twitter. It's like, what's the BumbleKast? It's like, all right.
And it's very much either or. It's they have to ask me directly, and so I retweet it to BumbleKast, or they tweet it to me, you, BumbleKast, and the Drogoon Twitter.
I've not seen I guess I haven't seen the Drogoon Twitter. That one must be kind of rare, but they definitely tweeted at me. You don't need to do that. You don't need to tie me into it. I'm just the guy reading the questions. You don't need me.
Ooh, the engagement with the Drogoon Twitter, even though we haven't done anything in months. Oh, it's because it's a question for BumbleKast. Okay.
A BumbleKast Twitter is more than adequate enough. You don't need to send it to all of our Twitter accounts. I understand wanting to cover your bases and make sure it's, make sure we see it, but we see it, all right. We see it. Don't worry. Anyway, that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, we're going to give a big thank you to everyone who makes this show possible. Big thank you to Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Dave M., Coupling Crew 128, Do As Diz Den, Off, Andrew D., Salute Your Cat, Jay Frost, Scruffy Matt, Hero of Light 13, Chris A., Sony, Ryan D., John M., Noni, Jib, Don B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Chevelle, Fiona M., Piggy Bank, Blue Title Gamer, Invade Turbo Tunis, Ben W, Tick Tick, Sonic, Xander Oni the Painter, Final Neil, Jonathan D, Axis, Nemric, Solaris Stain, Godzilla, Daddler the Dalek, Scurvy, Pirate Hog, The Name is X, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B, Ava Arctic, Pedanti Cat, Dove, Red the Supernamic, Pan Dolce, Quaggle Gaggle, Chad, Professor Rye, Jennifer H, Les, Cameron H, Sapphire Scarletta, Preston M, Alphamon Oryukin, Arc Fighter, Noah S, Corjiro Highwind, Sonic Ranger, Chase L, Nondal, Alex GS, Awesome Cakester, Kimiko, Radry, Callum Q, Shaggy Dog, Jack the Animator, Just a Mountain Soul, Finest Cacophony, Ty H, John the Real Waluigi, Maddie H, Jolene B, KJB and Tails, Dream Boatin, In Zephyr, Owen BD, Mox, Derucival, Knights Jubal, The Marble Gardener, T Ranger, Alex J, Four Sonic Fan, Joshua S, Megawatt, Agent Kaz, Saving Throws, Navarre, Exidel, Michael P, Ty Cyan, Lemur Chicken, Jamal S, Neon Strife, Rhythm Raccoon, Lacey M, Wild 48, Fenris Asger, Pap, Delta God 77, Dapper Shinks, Miggy Sawdust, Pig Dan 20, Jinx, Unlikely Veronica, Spiral Warrior, Phi, Angela V, Shimimaru, Starlight Sec, Pizza Person, Amagali, Danny the Light, Mobius, The Internet Person, Saturn Flaky, Cutlass 206, Chaos Sonic 1, Joester SSB, Madeline Blue Star 7, Master Sword 468, Speedweed, Steph Cube, The Cartoonist, Ryoko Shion, Metamode, Frost the White Lion, Agnes S, Wheels 282 Hedgehog.
Big thank you to those wonderful people. They are amazing, and I love them all. Platonically, of course. Except one of them.
Alrighty then, and that means we have just one more episode left this week. We will see you Friday for the standard Q&A.
Yes, indeed.
Until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Bye!
Apparently, because I am taking the cats to the vets on Tuesday, so I put the carriers out today for them to get used to them. And I step out, and Lee says, "So you missed it. Timmy sent himself to baby jail."
Well,
apparently he just hopped in one and made himself cozy for a bit.
Well, I mean, they do that with like boxes and other stuff, so whatever.
Yeah, it's just, getting him out of the closet, he hides. But the minute I put it down, he's like, "What is that?"
Yeah, it's like how one of them made a home on my suitcase for the whole week I was there.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of funny. I forget which one that was. Might have been Tenny.
I don't remember now.
Yeah, it's one of them. Oh, well. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. Chaos on Ones is suggesting a 24-hour stream of Q&A. The thing is that we definitely have enough questions to do it, but Ian's voice is Ian's voice will not handle that.
That was not mocking laughter, mind you. That was me barely maintaining my sanity at the very prospect. 24-hour freaking stream.
Dove says 2 hours at a time every week for 12 weeks. Dove, we're up to like 3-hour recording sessions now.
Yeah.
Just about. Just outsource some of the standard Q&A. You're gonna have someone else answer it. Here you go.
Hello, I am the Iron Flynn. I'll be answering your questions about the hedgehog.
The hedgehog?
The hedgehog.
The hedgehog. I like your hedgehog.
It's very nice.
All right. Call it Borat, I guess.